Imagine a life without a refrigerator, where keeping food fresh requires a blend of time-honored methods, resourcefulness, and a close connection to the changing seasons. In Mennonite communities, preserving food without modern appliances like fridges is a way of life. These communities have developed methods for food storage that maintain quality, flavor, and nutrition without the use of electricity, and they're masters at it. Mennonites preserve food as an essential part of their self-sustaining lifestyle. Instead of relying on freezers and fridges, they use centuries-old techniques: canning, drying, fermenting, root cellaring, and salting. Each of these methods has its unique advantages and requires specific tools and knowledge, all of which have been passed down from generation to generation. Canning is one of the most common methods Mennonites use to preserve food, allowing them to store fruits, vegetables, sauces, and even meats for months at a time. In canning, fresh food is placed in glass jars, sealed tightly, and then processed in boiling water or steam. The heat sterilizes the jars, killing any bacteria and creating a vacuum seal that prevents new bacteria from entering. This way, foods retain their flavor and nutritional value without refrigeration. Canning is a labor-intensive process that requires a certain level of skill and attention to detail. Each Mennonite family often has a designated canning day during harvest season, when everyone pitches in to prepare vegetables, fruits, and sauces for storage. Many families dedicate entire days to canning, preserving enough food to last through the winter. The canning process itself is somewhat of an art form, requiring precision, patience, and an understanding of the proper temperatures and sealing techniques. They know which foods need high temperatures, how much water to use in the canner, and how long each type of food needs to be processed. Fermentation is another ancient technique that the Mennonites have mastered. This method allows them to preserve foods like cabbage, cucumbers, and dairy in ways that enhance flavor and provide nutritional benefits. In fermentation, natural bacteria break down the sugars in food, creating a variety of flavors and preserving the food. Sauerkraut, pickles, and yogurt are a few examples of fermented foods commonly found in Mennonite households. This preservation technique has multiple benefits beyond just storing food. Fermented foods are rich in probiotics, which promote digestive health, making them both a storage solution and a health boost. In Mennonite households, fermented foods like sauerkraut and pickled cucumbers are staples. Not only do they last for months, but they also provide a natural source of vitamins and minerals. Fermentation doesn't require any electricity, just a controlled environment and some simple tools. One of the simplest and most effective methods Mennonites use for storing food is the root cellar. Root cellars are cool, dark spaces, usually underground, where certain types of produce can be stored for extended periods. Items like potatoes, carrots, beets, and onions do exceptionally well in root cellars, staying fresh through the winter months without any need for refrigeration. The earth naturally insulates and regulates the temperature, keeping it consistently cool. Mennonite families often build root cellars on their properties, storing produce in crates or bins to keep them off the floor and allow for air circulation. The produce is checked periodically for any signs of spoilage, and any items showing signs of rot are removed to prevent them from affecting others. Root cellars allow Mennonites to maintain a steady supply of fresh vegetables well into the winter, providing a reliable source of nutrition when fresh produce is scarce. Drying is another essential preservation technique used by Mennonites. By removing the moisture from food, they prevent the growth of bacteria and mold, allowing dried items to last for months or even years. Herbs, fruits, and meats are commonly dried and stored, adding to their long-term food reserves. Dried herbs like basil, thyme, and rosemary are staples in Mennonite kitchens, providing flavor to meals throughout the year. Fruits like apples, peaches, and berries are often dried and stored in jars, ready to be used in recipes or enjoyed as snacks. Drying meat, commonly known as jerky, is also a method that's been used for centuries. This approach requires no refrigeration and provides a high-protein food source that can be stored for months. For drying, Mennonites often use a combination of air drying, sun drying, and dehydrators. In the summer, herbs are typically tied in bundles and hung in a cool, dark place to dry. Fruits may be sliced and placed on racks in the sun, covered to keep out insects, but allowing air to circulate. Each drying method has its specific requirements, but the result is the same: food that stays good without refrigeration. Salting and brining are traditional preservation methods, particularly effective for meats and some vegetables. In this method, food is either rubbed with salt or immersed in a brine, a solution of salt and water. The salt draws out moisture, creating an environment where bacteria cannot survive, effectively preserving the food. Salted meats like ham, bacon, and fish are staples in many Mennonite homes. Before refrigeration, this was one of the most reliable methods to keep meat edible for extended periods. Salted foods can last for months, and when it's time to use them, they're soaked in water to remove excess salt before cooking. The process of salting requires an understanding of ratios, timing, and the right conditions. Mennonite families who practice this method typically know exactly how long each type of meat needs to be salted to achieve the best results, and they often pass down these secrets through generations. Mennonite food preservation is highly seasonal, with methods and priorities changing based on the harvest. Summer is a busy time for drying herbs, fruits, and vegetables, while fall is dedicated to canning and preparing root cellars for winter storage. This cycle is a way of life, ensuring that they always have enough food to last until the next harvest. Preservation is often done in large batches, involving extended family or neighbors, and transforming it into a social event. When fall comes, Mennonite families may come together to work on these preservation tasks, sharing knowledge and stories, and strengthening the community bond in the process. For Mennonites, food preservation isn't just about keeping food from spoiling. It's about sustaining a way of life that values independence, resourcefulness, and connection to the land. Every jar of canned fruit, every bundle of dried herbs, every piece of salted meat represents hours of effort and knowledge passed down through generations. By preserving their own food, they remain resilient, self-sufficient, and capable of thriving in any season. In a world where most people rely on fridges and supermarkets, Mennonites show that with dedication, knowledge, and community, it's entirely possible to live without these modern conveniences. They've created a system that not only keeps them well-fed, but connects them deeply to the rhythms of nature and the values of simplicity and self-reliance. In Mennonite communities, the art of food preservation goes beyond necessity. It's a legacy of resilience that binds each generation. These skills aren't just practical, but are deeply woven into the social fabric, carrying a kind of reverence for the natural world and a collective memory of generations past. Families spend time together during harvest seasons, teaching children about the importance of each technique, the unique benefits of each preserved food, and the wisdom behind these practices. Every carefully canned jar, bundle of dried herbs, and layer of salted meat represents not just sustenance, but a preservation of knowledge, heritage, and tradition. The intricate processes involved in food preservation serve as a reminder of a slower, more intentional way of life. In a world where food can be ordered with a tap on a screen, the Mennonite approach is refreshingly countercultural. They demonstrate a profound respect for resources and a deep-seated belief in living in harmony with the land. Preserving food requires time, patience, and often hard work, yet it also brings a certain sense of fulfillment and gratitude that's hard to replicate with modern conveniences. Each step, washing produce, slicing fruit, sterilizing jars, is a ritual of gratitude for what nature has provided and a promise to safeguard it for the future. Moreover, the foods they preserve carry unique flavors that are difficult to find elsewhere, influenced by their reliance on traditional methods and local ingredients. Fermented sauerkraut, home-canned apples, and dried wild herbs take on distinct tastes shaped by the soil, water, and air around them. These flavors are not just sustenance. They carry a sense of place and season, evoking the particular time they were harvested and preserved. In this way, the food becomes a living memory, tasting of the soil, season, and family labor that brought it to life. Mennonite preservation also fosters a culture of self-sufficiency that not only benefits the community, but has inspired those outside it. With increased interest in sustainable living and reducing dependence on energy, more people have turned to learn these techniques, finding in the Mennonites a model for preserving not only food, but autonomy and environmental responsibility. The practice of drying, canning, or fermenting food aligns perfectly with these values, creating a ripple effect where these age-old practices find relevance in modern sustainability movements. In the end, Mennonite food preservation is more than just a means to survive. It's a way of celebrating life itself. Each jar stored on a shelf, each bundle of dried herbs hanging from the rafters, is a testament to patience, respect for the natural world, and the strength of tradition. By preserving food without modern luxuries, Mennonites preserve their cultural values and heritage. They show us that in a fast-paced world, slowing down to honor food, family, and tradition can provide a richness that modern conveniences simply can't replicate. In this way, food preservation is an art, a science, and a heartfelt expression of what it means to live connected to both the earth and each other.